Welcome to the Political Pour Up Podcast.
Grab a drink, pull up a chair. Grab a drink. This is the Political Pour Up. Because we're going to need a drink for this.
Hello, and welcome to the Political Pour Up Podcast. I'm Sue.
I'm Jazz.
And I'm Jen.
And we are three friends who love to talk about politics. And we usually love to do it while we have a cocktail in hand, like I do right now. This is a lovely, spicy margarita made by our amazing Afro-Cuban Latina
Mixologist.
spicy Mami,
Yeah.
Jazz.
That's accurate.
Spicy Margie for the spicy Mami.
Yeah.
Spicy Mami.
Yeah, spicy
All right.
Mommy Marg is what we're calling it.
Yeah, because we need something to open up them sinuses.
All the way. All the way.
I hint a little sniffle in your...
Oh, you hint a lot.
Poor
It's been
thing.
a rough week for myself. Unfortunately, happened to catch a little cold in the week. And
It's that time.
It has handed my ass to me.
Oh.
But it's okay. I just
Poor baby.
sound awful. So if it happens to sound a little muffled, a little Fat Albert-ish, a little snuffleupagish-ish.
Why she
If
sound
it
the same
sounds-
that she usually do?
You sound fine.
It's giving hey, hey, hey.
No, it is not.
You sound fine.
Maybe in your head.
I can
maybe
hear the nasal
maybe
all up
you're-
and through it. So I just wanted to put that out there. Sorry.
maybe your head is congested and it's making
All of it is.
No, but you
I've been on
sound
Sudafed
you
hard
sound the
this
same.
week.
Yo, I need to run Sudafed back.
Let me tell you,
That
but
tussin?
you gotta get the real Sudafed. Don't let them give you the fake one with the acetaminophen. You gotta get the one that get the pseudoephedrine in there. The pseudoephedrine is what really breaks
Is that
it down.
a fever reliever?
No, it breaks down my congestion for me.
Oh, okay.
So
Because the
that works
acetaminophen
better
is
for me.
for
Yeah,
Pain.
for pain
and
and fever
fever.
reduction. But the other one has like something else in it that's not the traditional
Yeah.
pseudoephedrine because people were buying that to like make meth. So now you gotta like
Right.
show your
I was
eyes.
going to say
yeah.
something made Sudafed
I learned that on
unpopular.
Law and Order SVU.
I couldn't remember what it was, but that's...
Yes.
Ooh.
Because they were going around and looking at which pharmacies had reported cough medicine being
Cough medicine
stolen.
stolen.
So they can track down this drug trafficker that had just stolen someone else's child.
Yeah. Yep. They
It's like,
people be doing
yes,
it.
see, that's strategy.
I'm telling you, the way they connect the dots.
I'm telling you.
It's like it doesn't happen in real life.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
I'm gonna tell you what. I will never forget. I was working for a nonprofit in DC in the Shaw neighborhood, and a couple blocks away from there, like around the corner from there, there was an actual meth lab with somebody's like a house or
Shut
apartment that
up.
blew up.
I was like, did it blow up?
Yes, ma'am.
What
That's
year
how
was
it
this?
is.
Was it? Ooh,
Don't make me lie. This might have been back, and that would have had to been like maybe
that's crazy.
2017-ish,
Wow.
18-ish.
Wasn't that when y'all roommates?
Maybe like around that time or just
Yeah.
after. I think we were still roommates at that time.
We
But
were.
I'm
If
just
you
saying.
are working for the nonprofit that I'm thinking of, then
yeah.
yes, we were.
Yeah, but I won't
living
never forget
together.
that. I was like, I would have never thought. But
It just
little
blew
do
up.
you know.
Yeah. Well, it is
I always
fall.
support.
Yes.
Fall is falling over here in the
Fell on
DMV.
my
It's
ass.
finally like cold. Like we were recording one time and it was like 80 degrees outside on a
Ridiculous.
Saturday. And then the next week it was like in the 50s, high
Yes.
50s.
Yesterday, I
all
think it
week.
was like 40 something. And I think it's supposed to be like 80s this week.
Yeah.
This is why I sound like that.
Exactly.
All that back and
That's how
forth.
people get sick.
It's back and forth and back and forth.
It's crazy. So
I don't even be outside.
fall is
It came
is
to me.
also it's homecoming season.
Yes. So
I'll be
Clark's
living
homecoming was just this
vicariously
past
through you
weekend,
all.
right?
Yes.
This was Clark's
Yeah,
homecoming
yeah.
weekend.
And it looks so lit.
It did.
It did. I
Our
was
friends
looking
are
online.
there.
I was watching. My friends are there.
I know.
It was. It looks like they had a grand old time.
Homecoming is a very exciting and personal and rejuvenating experience for a lot of
So
us when we
nostalgic.
return to
It
like the
is.
play. Like we're in DC and Howard's homecoming that was this weekend, and you know, it's great to go and like, you know, people who went to Howard, but it's not like going to your own home. Even with so Jasmine went to Clark Atlanta University. Jen and I attended Spelman. Then those schools are in the Atlanta University Center.
So it's a little different.
They are different campuses and everything, but they're kind of like.
No, I mean, it's a little different than me
like
going
one family. It's different than going to Howard.
But even it's weird because sometimes there are years where Clark and Spelman and Morehouse Homecoming are all on the same.
Which I really enjoy.
Which I love because then we can just
and it feels like the experience we had when we went to school when they do that.
Exactly.
Which is why I wish they would just do that.
I think I don't want to do it anymore because I just think that probably with both things happening and all the events leading up, I just think that they're probably like, listen, between our public safety and the city of Atlanta, we don't have all the extra resources to be sending over there.
Because do they still do tailgate on the field at Clark?
Yeah, they did that, and then this year they actually had
I like it when it's all together.
They had an event. It was like a tailgate after dark or something.
Oh,
that
I think
was like
I saw that.
Where
I saw another homecoming
like
that did like a outdoor night concert. I think it might have either been Hampton or something. No, it was.
They did because they did it in the stadium.
This was last year. I think it might have been a Virginia school.
I think
either
the
Hampton or Virginia
do
State.
something like that now. They have. I don't know if that has replaced Olive Branch or what, but it was something that I saw.
It's like a festival
that
at
was
night.
super
like
lit.
A music festival at night.
Yeah, I was like, hold on, when they start doing this?
I mean, maybe that's now what Olive Branch
Maybe that's
is.
what Olive Branch used is to them.
Yeah. And Clark actually got a new field this year.
Okay.
And so their field is now, because the Clark's colors are red, black, and white. The field is red. Like, it is red.
Oh, okay. Well, you bringing up that they got a new field reminded me of, I don't know if anybody watches Married to Real Estate. You know, I be liking the HGTV show. So, it's about Aaron. I'm sorry, what is her name? Oh God, it's escaping me. But anyway,
Egypt Sherrod and
her husband.
See, I don't even watch it, but I know
who that is.
Yeah, but you know, she started on the radio in New York. Yeah,
and then she was doing the Burger King commercials.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Didn't know that one.
But
I think that's correct.
You are just so full of knowledge.
That's what I'm saying. Every day you learn something with this one.
I think she was doing the Burger King commercials every day.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, ooh. But no, they had an episode when they came and redid the locker room for Clark's. I think it was their basketball team. It was actually super dope because he wanted to put like a barbershop in and all this stuff. It was really dope. It was a whole episode. So check it out.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Check that out. It's really cool.
I've seen the advertisements for it, but I don't think I've gotten a chance to check it. But I used to be really into my HGTV days. If it wasn't Food Network, it was HGTV for me.
Oh, I know.
And then, of course, you know, I like to binge on like a little bit of trash TV.
Oh, all the
but
time.
Right now, literally, I'm like, what's on Discovery? But now I'll be watching stuff like the ID channel.
Do you?
I like the History Channel. I like the ID channel because I'd be like, oh, why they tried to kill them? What was wrong with them? What was going on over there? They'd be like Murder in the Heartland.
No.
Then it's like a siblings one. And you know,
it's all true crime.
I saw something that was posted. It was like, if you could watch stuff like that before you fall asleep, you might need to ask yourself why you're so comfortable dealing with trauma.
Yeah.
And I was like, but
I mean,
think of it this way.
I have some of my best sleep as I go to sleep to Law and Order.
Me too. I don't know what it is.
Because let me tell you why.
Law and Order puts me to sleep.
It's never brightly lit. It's never above
That's
a certain
I agree with you. It's a lot of talking.
It's a lot of talking. The tone
you're right. The tone is always
go above a certain thing.
It's very soothing.
And it's nothing too shocking, and usually not a lot of extra sounds.
Law and Order on, I'd be going right to sleep.
It'll don't me right to sleep.
Either that or any sitcom, and they don't play as many old sitcoms as they used to. Like they used to, like
Nick at Night Me.
Nick at Night plays Friends all night.
That's annoying.
But
that would drive
Living Single used to come on some. It doesn't really come on that long anymore. It used to be back to back. Sometimes Martin. But Martin don't even be coming on the late night. Like I fall asleep at like
it's on Netflix now. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
to the politics.
So homecoming. Jen and I are going to homecoming. Spellhouse homecoming 09. It's our 15-year reunion.
Have some fun for me.
I know Jazz is not coming with us.
Greatest homecoming on earth.
The original.
Yeah, there's no comparison.
Period.
But yeah, Jazz, we will sorely miss you.
We will.
I thought about it and I was like, let me just get this under wraps.
You want to get him? You want to
sniffles.
hide in my suitcase?
I thought about it.
Yeah. Or
But you know what? The way my back pains is set up,
I know Jasmine's joints be jointed.
No, that's the problem. They don't be jointed. That's why I be hurting.
She got that arthritis.
Y'all better hope don't let it crack.
Really leaning in.
This pod. I hope you don't hear nothing pop.
It's a little more geriatric. I love it.
Well, in addition to fall
I got my sweater
and homecoming, and naturally, after many of the homecoming celebrations come and go, just like that, it's election day, which literally, by the time we go live with this podcast, it will be 2 weeks out from election day. It's November 5th.
Hope everybody from homecoming can sober up in time to make sure you make
You might have already voted. It's people in Georgia
make sure you get it out the way.
Starts early voting
Yeah.
this week.
So
Y'all know my father was like, "You gonna vote?" I was
I
like,
got my
"I can't
ballot
even vote yet.
in
This is
DC.
last week.
Yeah.
Chill out. I'm gonna vote, Dad. Like, chill out."
I'm going on election
on
day morning. I love to go. For the
I used to go with my
for the
mom.
last year or two, I've been
Yeah.
the only person in the entire voting precinct. They're like, oh, we got a voter over here. I'm like,
That's hilarious.
yes, I'm here.
It's
But
me.
they're like, yeah, just sign your
Yeah.
name and just.
There's like record votes cast.
But
so
I'm
far.
telling you, I usually, that's the thing I do enjoy though. I usually go with my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even my mom or my brother
That's
will
what I
go
like to
together. I'll probably ask my dad, but I know he's going. Like, it's so funny.
He going in person? Well, North Carolina got early voting.
That man go
I think
everywhere
it's
else in person. I
See,
gotta
like-
ask him if he's gonna do early voting or voting on election day.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, my daddy
I
like
kind of like voting on election
my
day.
dad
do too,
likes
but
likes to
I
watch
like an
his
early
news.
vote in person. I'm just not. I don't want to fill out the paper
Yeah.
ballot.
My dad's
No, me either.
I don't think he cared to be around a whole bunch of people, but for him,
Yeah.
like he get up in the morning, he have his coffee, turns on the news, watches his things, has his Pepsi, and then later on he watches other stuff, like maybe like King of Queens or like
King of Queens is
Mike
good.
and Molly or something like that, or like or like a Cheaters or something. He might mix it in throughout the day. You know what I mean?
Oh my
Like,
gosh, that
but
is
in
the
the morning,
life.
that man's gonna catch his news. Okay, he's
That's
gonna
me.
see what's up.
When I
He looks like me in the morning. He put his glasses on.
I make my coffee, turn on my MSNBC in the morning.
Same.
I
And
have
that
to
should
get
just stay on
job.
all day.
And if I can
Until
get way
somebody
too
tells
early,
me to-
I know.
I haven't been up for way too early. Like
I actually like way too early.
consistently.
You know what's
since
funny?
I catch it.
Justice.
The last couple of times I've called way too early is because I've been up way too late.
No, that's usually how it goes. It's like you did not go to sleep. did
Right.
you?
Anybody
From
watching Love Is Blind?
the DC? No, I can't.
haven't
No,
watched
don't talk
it
about it
since the
because
old- since
they
the
told me to
first
watch it.
season.
Me
People
either,
Well,
since-
no, now it's in DC. My coworker was like, "You got to watch it because it's funny because it's in DC."
I
now."
wanna watch it
so
too.
would it be wrong of me to say that when I seen the lineup for Love Is Blind DC and I looked at the pictures
You said no.
and the names and I said,
This doesn't look interesting.
something about this may not be reading authentic DC to me. I don't know.
I mean, they
It's
might
enough.
they not live here, but they not from here.
Yeah, and you know what I thought would have been a very entertaining show? A Love Is Blind New York with some people that's actually from DC.
A Love Is
From
Blind New
DC.
York.
I mean, Love Is Blind DC, but some people that's actually from DC.
Oh yes,
Blame
very-
Nicole,
that'd be
don't
funny.
blame me.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Well,
It's the
let's
sip and
just
scroll.
get into the sip and scroll because Jasmine has some things to talk
Because
about.
we sipping and you be scrolling.
And
you
it's
know.
it's been a long week and social media is exhausting.
It's been
I
a
had
long
to take a
ass
break
week.
for
I
like
took a break this week a little bit.
I
2
had to take a
days
nap
at max.
a couple
So
times and just
what's
come
going
back.
on?
So I just saw it. I want to say like today, but they have like a new targeted ad that's airing in our area, and it is produced by someone who is promoting Trump. If it's not
A PAC or
endorsed by him,
the-
some PAC. I
yeah.
don't remember exactly the name of the PAC.
Oh, it's probably
It's
Elon
probably
Musk
Elon
pack.
Musk's pack.
Because he
He's
packing
doing
all over the
75
place.
million.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he wants to get all the
Yeah, 'cause he wants no
the
regulations.
high-T alpha bros is what he called the people that he's trying to get.
Oh God.
But for a man who's literally taking testosterone, I guess he wants all the high tea. So, but anywho, the targeted ad that I saw today had clips talking about Kamala, like giving, what was that they said? Like giving sex changes immigrants
to migrant
in jail.
Detainees.
And they like have like weird peace clips from stuff where you can clear.
When they were joking about it, or they were like making.
They have clips from the Breakfast Club of Charlamagne and DJ Envy in their ad talking about it, saying like, "Oh yeah, she's just giving it to everybody. Like, yeah, everybody get your sex change." When you can, when I really know they were joking about it, being
sarcastic, exactly.
And now this fool has taken it and put it in an ad and chopped it up along with just different stuff from either Kamala or other people talking about it.
These ads are going crazy.
And has a black woman going, "This is the worst times I've ever been in. I can't afford
I saw that
anything."
same ad. I saw that same ad. It's all looped in. And she's giving money for sex changes in jail, but I can't afford groceries or whatever. And it's a black
an
woman.
older black woman at that. Mm-hmm. And then again, like again with those targeted ads, I saw something.
I saw that same ad.
Yeah, I saw something about what they're doing in Michigan, where they're running one ad.
Can you imagine if we were in a swing state?
Oh, this is what I'm about to tell you, Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan, because they're running
one group of ads telling Arab or Muslim Americans or people who may be
that she's pro-Palestine. She's just pro-Israel.
She's pro-Israel. She's so pro-Israel.
And Doug is like has the most influence over him.
Doug is her puppet master. She follows everything he says. He's going to be second in line, blah, blah, blah. Which is very anti-Semitic. I don't know if Elon Musk knows that in his apartheid South African mind.
Oh Lord!
But it is, and so he puts that out, which
he
targets.
Care. That's the thing.
He's just so aloof that he really just has no idea. He tried to name his kids symbols and letters. Okay, we're not even gonna go there.
Yeah, let's not, because they. Oof.
So, and then there's a second ad also airing in the same state, targeted toward Jewish Americans, saying
that she's extremely pro.
She's so pro-Palestine. Mm-hmm. She's gonna be your new Palestinian.
They called her fake in the ad too.
They called her fake and everything they could. Mm-hmm. The fakest thing I think I've also seen on social media is this fool Trump showing up at McDonald's to fake fry some fries, have them close the entire restaurant
so he can
and try to make a joke, talk about, I hear it's her birthday. Maybe I'll get her a burger or some fries. Sir?
Don't you know that you get a Happy Meal on your birthday?
Don't he know the only thing he needs to be worried about getting?
He's so bothered.
Is his cholesterol down?
He's so bothered by her and the fact that she
how you gonna show up and play cosplay at the McDonald's?
Right.
Where that was her actual job.
That was her job. That was her actual job. It's like, why would somebody, first of all, that's the dumbest shit for somebody to lie about. Most rich people who are not have not used it, they don't try to make themselves look awkwardly relatable. Like you showed up to a McDonald's and fried French fries, and so they're like,
went to the drive-thru and took questions from reporters at the drive-thru,
and still would not commit to raising the federal minimum wage.
Since we talk about minimum wage, the debate. Even so,
Gary.
the Gary Chambers
debate or just like a
I thought it said I thought the premise was debate, but maybe it was just a conversation because they're not
running against.
They're not running against each other. Gary Chambers is from Louisiana. Mm-hmm. He ran for Senate a year or two ago, and then
first time seeing him, he showed up to a school board meeting and went off and told about
he brings the smoke every time. Every time, he always, and then he's always been very outspoken against the Democratic establishment in Louisiana, which has some flaws in a lot of the ways that they just. Well, sometimes you gotta be critical. The former Democratic governor was the only pro-life Democrat that was in the state. Wow, Louisiana's an interesting place, but Gary Chambers and Byron Donalds were on this panel. And I think one of his closing statements, Gary Chambers, to Brad Douglas was like, you know, this guy, he's a representative from Florida. He represents apparently all mostly white district.
And it wants to tell black people what to do.
And he called him out on it. He's like, is your district mostly white? He was like, well, yeah, but that's not that's a talking point that doesn't make sense. Like, Byron Donalds is such a fucking...
They tried to scapegoat him as being the
said
reason.
something during that debate that I was still thinking about, because he tried to say, like, what was his term for, like, because he wouldn't also agree to raising minimum wage.
Yeah, he was like,
the actual wage. What did he call it?
He was like
basically saying, like, most people are making above that. I was like,
he said most states are paying people above it.
But that's bullshit.
And he was like, nobody is making $7.25. He was like, I live in South Louisiana. I know a bunch of people. I know a bunch of people who are making under the minimum wage.
Thank you.
Because they work in the service industry and they're paid a tipped wage.
And a lot of them,
especially in
what we were talking about earlier, over there at the stadium and whatever them people working, it's a minimum wage.
Yeah. But the thing is that minimum wage
in Maryland is higher. It's either 12, it's 15.
It's supposed to be 15.
In DC it's 17.
But if you're working minimum wage in rural areas,
and I worked and Byron Donalds had he said, he was like, oh well, yes, if my 16-year-old and my 15-year-old want to get a job, no, I don't think that they should get paid like to be able to afford a mortgage and stuff. It's like, okay,
who can afford a mortgage on minimum wage?
That's the point. That's what he was saying. Is like it was created as like a threshold for entry level, and it's like, okay, but there are still people like actual adults living off of this wage. Because when you don't have any like incentive, or like if you don't force people to pay people more, they're not going to do it. It's this whole trickle down
about
theory.
So many jobs that I know of here. Luckily here it's higher.
They just pay the CEOs more.
That part.
Well, no, I mean the bigger issue would be like,
that was some bullshit.
One, if we're talking about traditionally how people have been paid, if you're talking about how those jobs were designed, when McDonald's came up, the minimum wage at that time was actually enough for people to be able to afford like groceries and an apartment. So that wasn't the minimum wage wasn't designed to give kids lunch money, which is pretty much essentially what he was saying.
Exactly.
It's not designed for that. It's actually designed to give the minimum livable wage, which would mean being able to afford a roof over your head, afford clothes over your back, afford transportation, and afford some kind of safety, whether it be healthcare or whatever. You know what I mean? Which technically at that point, with minimum wage was probably put forth, there wasn't really an issue with healthcare because it wasn't privatized and profitable in the way in which it was after Reagan.
Yeah.
It's a whole different
and the federal minimum wage has not...
College used to be a lot cheaper because at one point it was included for a lot of people in their states until a lot of people of color started going to college more so. And then it was like...
we can't have that.
Right, wait a minute.
No, they weren't going to pay for you to go. That's why they started having private schools as soon as they started having... desegregation. All the Christian academies and stuff like that popped up after that, so they wouldn't have to give money to public schools, and their kids wouldn't have to go there with them.
So the federal minimum wage has not risen since I think it's 2009. Over a decade. It's been over a decade. It was like 6. Now it's 7.25.
I remember working for 5.
I don't know. So
I remember working here for 5 something an hour. For minimum wage.
Wow. I mean, I did too, but that was more recently, and because I was a bartender, like
no, man.
in the city.
Right.
No, I'm saying
not a tipped wage.
I know what you mean, but I'm saying
like
it's lower,
5.15,
right? When you earn tip,
it is lower. They are allowed to, and there are one fair wage initiatives across the states to.
DC now is higher for the
DC is higher.
Tip. But when I was in college, I think I was working at one tip job, and I had to deduct my tips. So there were times when my check said, most of the time my check said $0.
Yeah. A lot of time because you then have to take out your tips, and that's if you claim
on top of the $2 that I got paid at $2.13 I got paid at.
Wow.
$2.13.
It depends. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. Did y'all see what is going on at these Trump town halls? Like, I mean,
swaying. 39 minutes
of course,
of Macho
I'm
Man
like a little
and
biased because I'm like, why are people there? But also, what is going on?
Sundowning. I said it before, and I'll say it again.
This man stood on stage and just listened to music.
He literally said, "I'm gonna stop taking questions. I don't want to have this conversation anymore."
And just looked out at the crowd. It's 30 minutes.
39. Play my playlist and start off with Pavarotti.
Right.
And go from Pavarotti to the Village People.
Right.
To the other gentleman who came on, I can't think of his name right now, who came on MSNBC, was like, I really don't agree with him singing my song. I would rather he did not. Or play it. Gosh. He was just on it this week.
The Village persons?
No, he sang another song. It's like...
didn't he play James Brown?
He said
the estate of James Brown.
It's a white gentleman.
No, he better not.
No, he played This Is a Man's World.
This Is a Man's World. But I don't know.
I don't know if the estate of James Brown permits that, but if you're not and you're listening, you should probably cease and desist immediately. But
he should sue him.
If you try and get that check, then
but
I won't
it was.
your way.
I mean, right again. Oh, speaking of checks, this is a conversation I did have this week, where we were talking about like different ads we had been seeing. I do like the fact that they have put out a union. I think they did put out a union ad, and that she did her rally this week, I believe, in Pennsylvania somewhere. It might have been Michigan, because I think they were talking to the United Auto Workers Union at that rally. But she actually did talk about a lot of the stuff with unions, which I thought was very important.
Yeah.
But my union member fiance was saying, you know what they need to do? They need to put the fact up there of all the union members that he stiffed during 2017. That he and then this company ended up having to, I can't remember the name of the company, but he used to work for the company years ago. But they ended up having to do all this work, and it was a rush job, and they did all of it. The company paid for the work up front because, they intend to get the money from the contract. They got stiff, they never got paid. The company then had to lay off 50 or more employees because of the money that they paid up that they did not recoup. And I think that they are suing. So I do think that they need to talk about more of that. Also, I told him, I said, listen, I knew when he didn't pay them little white girls, the little 6 or 7-year-old little white girls in their American little outfits that it was on the stage before. If you gonna stiff some children, period. You gonna stiff some little girls, period. That's out here in tap shoes and an American flag ballet outfit. Just out here because you asked them to come to your rally and don't pay no.
How much is enough of this guy? Like every time we don't think he can go lower.
Enough is now.
He take us to the curb.
See it finally on November 5th.
Are you referring to the father of IVF, or are you referring to
many bizarre things this week?
He opens his mouth at this point.
I mean, this week outside of swaying for 39 minutes, having nothing to say, rambling.
He had a busy week this week.
He did, but he was so busy that he became exhausted. And he turned down an interview with the Shade Room because of exhaustion.
He was
probably more exhausted at the fact that they were another black media outlet.
He turned down several people and then went on Fox and Friends immediately after they said he was exhausted.
Exactly.
And when they mentioned him being exhausted, he said, "Who's exhausted? I'm not exhausted." He literally said it because I watched it.
Was it the one where he was talking about Rupert Murdoch
I would love to doing the Shade Room?
Oh, he said that's when he said he was going to eliminate the Department of Education.
Well, that's in Project 2025.
He said that at most I'd leave one person there and a secretary, and not like a secretary, like a note-taker secretary there, and I would give it back to the states. And I was like, I don't think he understands how education in states work, that they do rely on federal funds, so that's not really how that's going to work.
Well, no, he said he would defund.
He said he would get rid of the Department of Education and give it back to the states, and because the states could do a much better job like they do in Norway, the states could. And I'm like, the states rely on federal funds in order to subsidize students, so that's not really how that's going to work. But that was that, and then he joked about if one of the hosts wanted to come back, he could be there.
He could be
He could be the head of something or the head of
He should submit his resume on project2025.com.
He put Betsy DeVos in charge the first time, and we knew she was trying to get rid of everything and break it down.
Did.
Yeah,
and she didn't succeed.
And she would have gotten away with it.
Yes.
If it wasn't for those damn career federal employees.
But damn meddling kids like Scooby-Doo.
Right. That was the vibe I was going for.
I picked up what you were putting down.
But yeah. No, okay. And then what is this about Arnold Palmer's penis?
There was so much that
He's talking about the lemonade mixed with sweet tea guy, right?
It's so fucking weird.
There was so much that happened this week.
No, it was too much.
Like, and then the Arnold Palmer thing, which
that was weird.
Sir, we know this man from golf and a half and halves. Let us just live in a half and half in golf world. We don't need
visuals.
And here's the thing about it that got so weird. One, it was unprovoked.
That's what I'm saying. Why?
Then he goes, "Oh, I knew him, or we were good friends, or whatever he said," and then goes on to say, "I've never said anything about this. I wasn't going to mention it, but I'm going to mention it. There's some women here, but they'll be okay.
And I love women
or whatever. Well, he's Mr. I'm your protector / your molester / your.
But let's talk about this old dead guy's penis.
Right. I mean, and in such a weird way too. It's like let me tell you,
very weird when he would take showers.
When other guys would
obsessed
be
with
in
penis
the
size.
showers.
That's what it is.
Well, I guess if you have the hands the size,
one can only
a freaking flower bud.
One can only
then just maybe,
he's gross.
He has his strong hands because that's it.
Shut up.
Get my strong hand here.
You know what?
Stop. That was the funniest shit in that movie. I don't care.
We all have known since we had the misfortune of realizing him as a politician that he has this
LDE.
Yes, this like
LDE.
Like he has, like that is why he has this like thing about big crowds.
That's why he's
like
the biggest and the greatest.
But now, like when you have dementia, like those are the things that come out.
If you're never good at anything, I guess you're going to be good at everything.
Yeah. So in terms of crowd
told us
size,
if this was your grandpa, you would be concerned.
Yes, because that's exactly what dementia does.
My grandpa was talking about people in the way of like trying to persecute violence upon people that don't agree with him. I might need to see if we might need to get grandpa some extra help so he can be in a safe place.
In terms of crowd size, I thought this was a good point to bring up. Kama's clapback when she had hecklers at, I think it was her Wisconsin rally, and she was like,
"You're at the wrong rally.
You're at the wrong rally.
I think you're looking for the smaller one.
You want the smaller one
down the street." I thought that was because literally his obsession with crowd size has always been indicative of his insecurity about whatever flaws in manhood he thinks he has, but like now they are coming out. He would be by definition a senior citizen in any other space other than he is a senior citizen.
He is a senior citizen.
He's had his AARP card for a decade. By the way, speaking of things I've seen on social media,
I'm so glad Biden is out of this conversation now that we can focus on Trump.
I'll tell you
and his
this week with the
mental decline.
Because I tell you one thing, Biden would never talk about Arnold Palmer's penis.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure that's not on any list of things that Biden cares to discuss or even knows about to discuss.
That's why that whole conversation annoyed me, but that's, neither. We're past that now.
But you know what, though? I would have said one thing I did notice about the surrogates for the campaigns coming up this week. I've caught a bit of them. It's been so much in the media. It's been hard to keep up with everything. Yeah. So, girl, I'm not mad at you for flooding us, but keep on doing it. But they did have Bill Clinton out talking. And
did they?
I didn't catch everything that he said, but I did catch a clip where he was like, yeah, Trump is running, and I'm only 2 months different than him in terms of age, but clearly we're not the same.
We can tell,
clearly.
We can tell.
No matter how much McDonald's Clinton ate on a daily basis, because he used to go to that one on 19th Street and get his little breakfast.
And he presents himself as a coherent person. So
and Hillary looked like she ain't aged a day. Since 2016, I'm like, girl,
her down 4 years ago.
Give me your.
You know what her secret is? Now she's not being stressed out about all that stuff. She said,
she probably don't even live with them. She's like,
her probably
She's come out here trying to help y'all out a bit and like try to push y'all forward. But you know what? I ain't gotta be both of us.
In terms of what it,
well,
where
in terms of his
going?
craziness, we're gonna wrap that up. I think that
because he had a very busy week.
Of crazy ridiculousness. Including Mr. calling himself the father of IVF, which outside of it being just
after being explained,
he just finds a new way to describe himself as just weird and creepy as hell when it comes to women.
Period.
Again, stay out of our vaginas, sir. No one wants you there. Your wife doesn't. None of the people you paid don't. None of the rest of the American people want you anywhere around or thinking about their vaginas, okay? Mm-hmm. You're probably thinking about grabbing all of them,
but like,
we don't
how
want
do you
that
fix your
anywhere
lips
in
to
your
say
mind.
you're the father of something?
Not like, you didn't even know the phrase and had to ask somebody to sum it up to you in 2 minutes or less.
No moral shame, scruples, moral. None of it. Like, there is no barometer for how far is too far and how much too much.
There is no too far. Nothing
There
is too much.
isn't. Like,
Nothing.
you will literally say anything.
He's one of those people that believe.
And I'm so sick of that in our political system because it's just like it's actually dangerous to get up here and just say whatever the fuck you think.
Yeah. And for the most part, I think that
Just to say anything.
I think politicians do it from time to time, but I feel like he is an anomaly in the fact that he literally does it anytime
and all the time.
The last thing from the whole circuit of foolishness from this week that really pissed me off, which is why I wanted to end here, was on I believe the Trump town hall on Fox 2, a room full of women this week with Harris Faulkner. I was quite disappointed.
Who is a black woman.
Yeah, who is a black woman.
We think.
Skin folk and kin folk, which was quoted
She's
to me
probably
this week.
skin folk and maybe not the kin folk, but it is what it is. But anywho, she sat down with him and a room full of women to have, I guess, like a women's town hall. I don't know what that was supposed to do.
Well, nothing, because it has been reported that most of the women in the audience were supporters of his, but Fox didn't air that information. But continue.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised also if some of them were even creeped out by some of the comments that were made during that.
Did you see some of the faces in this room?
Yeah. Right.
I was like, if they were his supporters, they were disturbed.
Right. Whether or not they want to admit it, the initial shock and awe on your face was disturbance.
I know when I see a woman, it's like, the fuck?
Did he just say that?
Yeah, I know the fuck face when I see it because I've given it to several people.
Right.
What in the hell? Don't know them faces. But outside of the father of IVF, who just hadn't had IVF explained to him, so he didn't know what it was, nor could he explain how he was supported, but he just said, that sounds great. What particularly bothered me was that when Harris Faulkner told him that the family of Amber Thurman did a preemptive call-in regarding that, and he made some kind of quip comment,
disgusting,
saying something like, "Well, I guess we're gonna get our viewership. We're gonna get
more views." He said like that's nice, and was like, "That's great. I promise we'll get better views. We'll get better views. No remorse, no acknowledgement for what that family has been through." He could have acknowledged her. He didn't want to acknowledge her. Didn't want to acknowledge what her family is going through, and furthermore decided to make a joke about her fucking death.
We'll have more viewers. Again, the big dick jokes. Like, he literally is obsessed with people being obsessed with him because he has probably lived a life where
he's a reality TV
women
star.
have...
I keep trying to remind y'all.
Yeah.
But
he really
that's another
to be
upset.
mean.
And I mean, on top of it being
politics.
like the most disgusting response that you could ever have to a situation like that, because let's not forget why Amber Thurman, who was a young lady who died after being denied a timely D&C procedure at a Atlanta area hospital. She died and
completely preventable.
It was completely preventable because a D&C procedure is something that was very routine pre the Dobbs decision that happened in June of 2022, and then in I think it was August, she presented at the hospital and was not able to get the D&C procedure because doctors were too afraid of the new 6-week abortion ban that had recently been instituted in Georgia. A lot of women don't even know they're pregnant
in 6 weeks.
Oh, I know from firsthand experience.
Same.
No, I knew I was pregnant the moment I threw up in my mouth the day that I...
When I found out I was pregnant with Anaya, I was heading into the second trimester.
You were like, this is some bull. Where's the first trimester?
But yeah, Amber Thurman died as a direct result of Trump's actions. He ran in 2016 with a promise of instituting Supreme Court justices that would overturn Roe.
And he delivered.
What did he do? He put 3 Supreme Court justices on the court that overturned Roe in 2022. And now in 21 states, abortion is either banned outright from the moment of quote-unquote conception, or it is restricted at 6 weeks, or
which is essentially
12
a total
or 18.
abortion ban.
6 weeks is a total abortion ban, with 6 weeks in
Georgia
Georgia and South Carolina,
that's a total abortion ban. 6 weeks.
Iowa.
Like, come on.
Yeah, because
and like practice.
So yeah, Amber Thurman died as a direct result of Trump's actions, and he had the nerve to laugh about it.
It's funny to laugh that her parents were giving a preamble to town hall.
A preemptive press response to whatever he was going to say, because he's the protector of women, because don't forget that. But yeah, those women do not include Amber Thurman and literally anyone who is not someone that he got pregnant. So
the irony is, every time I hear of him say stuff like that, it just brings me back to another thing I saw months ago or a while ago on social media. That was like, Tim Walz is the guy like you asked to like walk you back to get home safe. Trump is the guy that Trump and JD Vance are the reason why you need that escort.
Exactly, I saw that recently too. That is such a good point.
I mean, and it gives that.
It is.
It gives it every chance that they get.
So.
All right.
So on that note, let's go into the headline. I don't really feel like I got a hangover from just social media news in itself, but like there's a whole other outlet of mainstream news. Our headline hangover, Jen. What's been dominating like the news people who pride themselves on being news as opposed to just
and even some of them are skeptical, but let's see what they talk about.
Oh, we know that.
All right, so Kamala continued her media blitz. As we all know, she had done some podcasts like Call Her Daddy last week and Howard Stern. So this past week, she had a town hall in Detroit with Charlamagne from The Breakfast Club.
Oh, on iHeart, yeah.
On iHeart. What else did she do? Fox, she had that...
Fox and Friends.
Yes.
Just Brett
Baer, which was very contentious from the outset. It almost was like he had something to prove to Trump, it felt like.
Yeah, it did, but she didn't let him get not one.
No, she was ready for him, and she handled him so well.
I thought so. As much as well as anyone in that position could handle, because, Fox is always going to...
Because I think he was trying to give her, like, make her have a Hillary moment. Because do y'all remember when Hillary kind of insulted Trump supporters? And
he was.
That was the deplorable soundbite, or was that a different time?
Yes, I think it was the deplorable. And I think he was trying to get her.
He was trying to make her. She was like,
I would never say that about the American people.
You better tell them.
You better than me.
You're talking to a good HBCU sis, okay? You're not talking to your average.
You better than me.
And also, she reminded him, I'm sorry, that's your person. That's not me.
That part. She did The View. Yeah. Meanwhile, Trump was dodging in the media, citing exhaustion, then saying it wasn't exhaustion, I think.
Yeah, when he came on Fox and Friends, they was like, they said you were exhausted. He's like, I'm not exhausted. What are you talking about? I'm not exhausted.
You just don't like to answer questions.
Well, we noticed that he can't answer them coherently. Because
that
was also dominating the news cycle this week.
Yeah, he's ranted and raved everywhere.
I think that has honestly what I've seen a lot of in the headlines is just kind of like this juxtaposition between Kamala coherence, who seems presidential, can handle contentious interviews, and then we have Donald Trump, who is turning down interviews. But then when we see him in his rallies and things like that, he's swaying.
Ridiculous.
As Jasmine says, sundowning.
He's incoherent.
He
goes off on rants that are just don't make sense.
They make no sense.
One thing that I heard on probably MSNBC, let's be honest.
That is okay.
It's like, every time he talks about Kamala, he insults her intelligence, just calls her like every derogatory name in the book, calls her stupid.
The one that begins with N and ends with R.
Whatever. Everything that he is he is.
Everything short of
her.
a child of God, he calls her.
And she is the opposite of. So,
yeah.
But at the same time, she goes on an interview with like Bret Baier, and like even though you might not be a huge Kamala fan, but just in that interview, she presented herself
she
as
sure did.
Not the dumbest person on the planet, which is what Trump is saying that she's like the most incompetent person alive. She
wasn't the dumbest person on that stage.
Not. Like, I mean, you might not agree with what some of her policy positions
what we're not
are,
gonna do
but
is
she
pretend
came on
that
a
she's
channel
not smart.
that you watch 24/7 and presented herself to not be everything that Trump is saying that she is. So, of course, that's not to say that will sway the most ardent Trump supporter.
And that was
but
the thing.
it's like it creates a juxtaposition of exactly.
And I think there was a lot of conversation.
I wonder, is he lying or is she just really good at not being dumb on Fox News? So stretch your brain to make that make sense.
At all. I know a lot of people would love to think that the black woman running for president is just.
She just learned all of these new words to come on Fox News.
But that's actually not the case.
It's not the case at all because she has held public office since the 90s.
There's a statement that.
But again, it's the racist tropes that he plays on.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, at this point, it's just desperation.
That's what I'm saying. There's also a quote that usually comes to me, which is that it's much easier for a smart person to play stupid than it is for a stupid person to play
smart. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's what we see every day from him. That's perfect.
So what we do know is that she's not playing dumb, but she's also smart.
Exactly. Like she's actually smart.
If she did not have the smarts that she has, she wouldn't be able to articulate, carry herself in the ways in which she does.
And this is
and achieve the things in which she has.
Period. Because what we're not going to do is act like she just happened to get here.
I guess if somebody's paid for all your achievements, you feel some type of way when people win actually get them
have to work hard to get where they are.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand that.
No. Work hard. He's like, oh, you mean those people? Yeah, when they're tired, I just don't pay them overtime and I fire them and I hire some of them. And the most interesting thing about that, because he did say that, and they did bring that up as an ads this week, was that for the union people supporting him, I just find it odd. You have unions that are actually suing him for unpaid work during his last run, or during his first run.
But members are voting.
But there are some members who are voting, and I am really confused or talking about voting for him. Yeah. And I'm very confused because he stands for none of which you stand for. And was out here joking with Elon Musk, who he plans to give a cabinet position, which he so explicitly said. And Elon has paid for it by donating not only the $45 million that he said he would donate, but at least double that and then some.
Yeah, which we don't have. $75 million to Super
PAC. Double is at least 90. So he's got to be at 100 because he said more than double. But I'm just saying, like, all this stuff that y'all let him tell y'all makes no sense. I don't know if it's dialing into like the old tropes of maybe the beginning of unions where they were excluding people of color. But I think you need to realize that the things that he's trying to do actually affects you all and not just the people of color who happen to be part of it.
Exactly.
And the same way that he says that he wants to eliminate overtime tax, that's because he plans to eliminate what overtime is considered as currently, which means that it will not be over 40 hours a week, which means it'll be a monthly amount of hours in which you are allotted, and people can work you as much out of those hours, no matter how many days or weeks that they feel off and on. And if they decide that they've worked you for 3 weeks out the month, 80 hours a week, and that's nearing the overtime thing, then they can just leave you off the last week of the month and not compensate you. So I think people need to really pay a lot more attention to that, because a lot of what unions provide are overtime protections. The dues in which they pay actually go to the benefits that they have. There are people that making sure you're getting your pension, your second pension, your time off, your PTO, your vacation, your overtime pay, your double time pay, all these things. So, that's another thing, but
Well, shouts out to our girl Kamala for trying to reach across the aisle.
Hello.
Because she is doing a phenomenal job. I don't know if I would have made the same effort. I don't know.
The Lord's work.
Okay.
Strongest soldiers.
I was wondering, like, how do y'all feel? Because I'm just like, do we need to do this? Do we think it's gonna really sway anyone at this point?
I mean, like you have,
do we
like
think?
it shows one that she is
trying to be president of all.
campaigning. Right, exactly. When you have
And for all people. Because you get all people not showing everywhere.
It's like Trump is like, I don't need additional votes because
We told people at the beginning.
You don't need the vote. Don't worry about it.
And then
he said
told
if you
Catholics,
vote once.
Catholics, you better vote for me. You
Right,
better
he
vote.
said the same thing to Jews. He's like, I don't understand why
But
I didn't get 100% of the Jewish
people
vote.
He
are
said
going
it's the Jewish people's
And now
fault.
it's it's
Which is also
anti-Semitic.
It don't roll over well.
It doesn't. You're putting a target on these people's back.
Well, he doesn't mind putting a target
is
on anybody's
true.
back
Yeah,
as long as it ain't his.
That part.
Because when he thinks he has a target on his back, which is just people being like, hey, you did wrong stuff and you should be held accountable or there are consequences for these. He's like, whoa, no, not me. Can't.
Anyway, we want to say kudos to Kamala. She handled herself very well.
In this blitz, like, I mean, she keep going. Like,
She's been reaching this whole black men narrative. She's been attacking.
You going on podcast
as well.
The Political Poor podcast is accepted.
Hey, listen. We would love to have you. We are.
There are a list of people we would love to have at Kamala's right at the top of that
Right
list.
at the top. Come on, sis.
That's my only list. I don't need nobody.
Well,
else.
listen, we might run into her at homecoming. They say she's coming.
Oh, yeah.
Well, someone from the
Someone
campaign
from the
is
campaign.
coming. Let's tell them. Hey, listen.
She was in Georgia today.
Y'all better reach out to Kamala HQ.
Yeah, Obama
You
was
know what?
in.
You're right. Let's go ahead and send an email.
Okay.
Why not?
We at Spellhouse Homecoming. Tailgate on Saturday. Hope to
I'll
see
be there
you
in
Hope to
spirit.
see there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on. I can't stand this guy. Ron DeSantis threatened channels who were airing ads about Amendment 4. A judge ruled.
Yeah, he sued them. His health department, which is under his direction by somebody he appointed, sued them. And the judge was like, stupid. This is literally the first amendment.
No.
That's
These
what
are
the
the
judge
abortion
said.
ads,
So,
correct?
yeah, the Amendment 4 is the abortion ballot initiative that's in Florida currently. They're campaigning for it. It's on the ballot in Florida. If you're a Florida voter, get out and vote for
Please.
yes for Amendment 4. It will enshrine access to abortion up to viability in the Constitution of Florida. Currently, Florida has a 6-week abortion ban.
Which is before most people know.
Before most people
Hello.
get pregnant, and that just the Supreme Court allowed that to go into effect just a couple of months ago. So this is it's a very new landscape in Florida because a lot of the states in the South, right after the Dobbs decision, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, all of the southern states surrounding Florida had instituted abortion bans almost immediately, and so a lot of people were getting their care from Florida, which had at the time, I believe, a viability ban, and then it was at 12 weeks, and now it's at 6 weeks. So abortion care in Florida has been
decimated.
Damn near, yes. So there is a possibility that in Florida, it will be reinstituted to viability, which is the Roe standard, so up to about 24 weeks. And in order to get the ballot initiative just on the ballot, Floridians Protecting Freedom, which is the organization that put together the ballot initiative, they had to get about 900,000 signatures. They ended up getting over 1 million signatures. It is it's a difficult burden to overcome to get it passed because they need a 60% threshold, which anyone who does math better than me knows that that's more than 50%. That's more than a majority. So you need pretty much a super majority to get it passed. Right now it's polling at about 70%. So that is encouraging. There's an ad that has been running on TV channels that tells the story of a cancer patient who...
Oh, the brain tumor.
Yes, she had a brain tumor while she was pregnant, and in order to get the life-saving cancer treatment that was going to save her life, she had to get an abortion because they would not give her that treatment while she was pregnant. And in Florida, that would be illegal. So it was like, either
Yes.
die.
Again,
or die.
Yeah, exactly.
If you didn't get an abortion, there was no option.
There's not right.
So they were airing this ad on.
It's a powerful ad too.
It is a powerful ad. We will link it so you can go watch it. But it was airing on Florida television stations, and DeSantis was like, So instead of helping his state recover from double hurricane devastation, he was more concerned with making sure that he suppresses the First Amendment as much as possible.
Yeah, had the health department too, and then they lost.
They lost. The judge literally, and this is the most profound statement I have ever read in a court. It's the First Amendment, stupid.
Yeah, that's why
that is a quote. That is not a paraphrase of the judge said.
I loved it.
It is in
every moment.
The order from the judge. And also, like, judges hate frivolous losses. Like, whether you're a conservative or Republican, or a conservative or a liberal, like, as an attorney, like, you are prohibited from bringing frivolous losses, like things that you know are not based in any. It's a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
So this was
another outcome.
This was basically, it's the First Amendment, stupid. Is the judge saying this is a frivolous lawsuit, and probably if you were not the governor of the state, you would have probably been sanctioned.
That's why voting is important. And also, people, when we're talking about Florida, let's also keep in mind that they had a ballot initiative years ago, before, I think, when DeSantis was running, that was allowing felons to have their rights restored in order to vote. And the majority of the people in the state voted for it.
Right.
And then DeSantis
also
wrote it out. Yep. So let's just make sure that we write him out.
This judge also,
so that way he can't do it again.
He ruled against Florida in 2018 and ordered Florida Governor Rick Scott to restore the voting rights of felons after they're released from prison. So listen. Case in point. Pay attention.
And Rick Scott is definitely running with Ron DeSantis.
There's so much scary, but that's a great example of what you do on November 5th will have consequences and effects.
And also midterm elections. Make sure you vote on all of them, because these people all have influence.
I know we're going to get into this later, but I'm really excited about all the congressional seats.
Oh, yeah.
Whew, Jesus.
Let's remember, vote blue down the ballot, because you know these other people will gang up.
And that's my thing. We got to think critically about voting. Like, we're not just voting for one person.
No, we're voting down ballot. Yeah.
We're voting for all the appointments.
Because as you see,
we're voting for the cabinet.
They're trying to put everything.
We're voting for Congress.
And if you're listening to Republicans, they're trying to return a lot of things to state rights, which means that it's even more important that you know who's in your state. Also, these are the same people who might either be protecting democracy on the Hill or out here trying to give tours to people to let them in.
And please, let's not do the work.
Give a fist up to them or give them tours.
Let's not do the work. So,
let's not do the work of electing those same people back in.
I guess I'll move on to the next headline. So next up on the headline hangover is the Al Smith dinner. I'm sure people saw several clips on social media, the mainstream media as well, of Trump's explicit written speech. And Harris also appeared virtually in a pre-recorded video with Molly Shannon from Superstar.
Yes. I wish I could do it, but I feel like the way that my stuffy nose is set up, it won't go off well.
That's okay.
No, there was so much from
Mary
that
Catherine. Yes. Oh my God, that shit was hilarious.
I'm better at the whole setup, but I can't sniff for her.
I saw some takes that people were like, it wasn't that funny, it missed. I was like, you must have not seen the movie. It did not miss a thing.
Well,
like,
also,
that shit did not miss.
You probably don't enjoy SNL, do you?
Right. I was like, first of all, if you saw the movie, and that was very much a millennial thing, like, Superstar came out when we was in middle school.
But the movie was a hit.
Right.
Because it was a skit recurring on the show.
That's true.
Yeah. The same way that Night at the Roxbury was. I remember the night at the Roxbury.
Jasmine be
I almost hurt my neck. But just know, like, we were SNL people, okay?
You listen.
No, that's true. No, you're right. Absolutely.
We watch it as a family.
Woo, guys, but there was so much that I kept seeing in the headlines from this dinner. He attacked Kamala
multiple times.
Yeah.
Used profanity at a religious Catholic event, like,
And they
in front of
blamed it on
bishops,
that part.
like,
And blamed it on Fox and said, well, Fox.
Well, Fox wrote the
people
joke.
wrote my
Come
joke.
on.
And Fox was like,
No, we didn't.
No, I don't know.
He
We don't
said
know
a
about
lot
it.
of things that were just inappropriate. Eric Adams was in the audience. He like had a joke about him, and like it all of his jokes kind of like fell flat. Melania was not amused. I was like, why did you even go? Like, you could have just
stop.
like,
Don't
you don't
show
have
up.
to.
You don't
like,
have to do it.
We know, sis.
She's
no,
still trying to
but
sell the books of her art.
that's
I'm sorry.
She needs to. This is completely.
I heard fashion with no fashion. She's like Shiva Sharif, an Eastern European.
How do you
Where
have
the
a fashion
fashions?
show with no fashions? How
How
dreadful.
you have a fashion
show
book
with no
without no
fashions?
fashions?
Well, no fashions because she was nude.
Exactly. But you
Naked.
can't call it fashion art if there are no fashions. You could have just stopped at art if that's where you was going.
Right.
But when you want to throw fashion in there, it's high. This is fashion. This is high fashion.
just wanna
Well,
show
she
your
was there
niggas.
and was not amused.
Did she
and
bust it wide open and tell her bring it back?
I didn't see it on, but who knows? Yeah, it was just like
Even when
literally.
we ran the first time, I said, "Is this really about to be our first lady?"
My mother was disgusted.
I'm like, "Are y'all serious right
Not after we had a whole. Not after there was a tan suit gate and a arms gate. That's
Come
what
on
we're
now."
not gonna do.
And now we got a first lady that
We went from tan
It's a
suit and
professional
arms gate
nudist.
to soft core porn.
soft porn. Period.
Yep,
For the first lady.
that's cool. But please tell me more about how the left is
I mean, the irony that somebody
That's
who's
what-
all their
immorally trying to.
I'm just trying to figure out how somebody with all their wives are
obliterate
immigrants
the
now
American
just don't like
family.
immigrants.
Sir, I would love to.
You
I would
hire
love to
immigrants,
hear more.
you marry immigrants, you move their
Into
families over.
That
Now
part.
all of a sudden you are
All
an
of a sudden,
immigrant.
you like immigrants.
Well, what I don't understand is even when I see a lot of like, I guess what you would consider like a bit more right wing of like white America, I'm like, you do realize that if there was a group of people who are definitely immigrants, it's all of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like we do know that
This
the
is
people
not
that were here before
your land.
did not have a look of you.
No, that's not.
This
that's,
land is not-
That's not within their peripheral mindset.
I mean, just because you was the first, and not even the first, in terms of their history, they were the first. But we'll go into that later on.
Next. Yeah, good. You spoke him up, sir. You talked him up last episode.
I sure did.
You
That
sure
was-
did.
That was not my intention.
So David Duke came out with an endorsement of Jill Stein.
And we
this
all know who
week.
David Duke is, and if you don't, you can listen to what episode 1, 2.
Who doesn't know who David Duke is? Wake the hell up if you don't.
Yeah, just Google him.
Yeah, there's a thing called
He-
Grand Wizard
he
and a little
apparently
thing
has
called
a
the
radio
KKK.
show, and that's the thing. Is like, okay, so what did David Duke do now?
He endorsed the the Green Party candidate, Jill Stein.
The
So,
one that they
what do we
What do
literally
we make of this?
only
Let's get
have
into
on
it.
the ballot.
Let's get into it. What the hell?
Oh, I know
No,
exactly
so-
what to make of it.
Yeah,
Because I don't remember if I brought this up.
he's like the most anti-Semitic person in the entire country.
yes.
Well, in order
And
to be
Jill
the
Stein
KKK
is like,
Grand Wizard, you pretty much are anti-Semitic and
yeah,
all.
and neo-Nazi and all of the
Neo-Nazi.
things. But on top of
And
that, so
Aryan.
he
Jews will
cited,
not replace us.
he cited
Nobody
his
will,
reason
according to
for not so he supported Trump in 2016 and 2020, and he cited his support for Jill Stein as being because Trump is now like a loyalist to the Jewish lobby, and he's like becoming like very pro-Israel, which of course David Duke being anti-Semitic is not cool with, and then
Being a white
Jill Stein
nationalist who's
is
anti all things.
is like
other than white nationalism.
stop
white
funding
nationalists.
Israel to continue to implement this attack and genocide on Palestine.
Jill Stein's full of it.
And she don't give a fuck about Israel or Palestine. She gives a fuck about her pockets.
Right, but y'all go ahead and vote for Jill Stein.
No, you don't. No, the only reason she's in the race is because she's getting all her funding is coming from pro-Russia groups and anti-environmentalists who are lobbying
their own causes.
Yeah.
Or, Yeah.
All of her investments are in oil or gas or she has stock in international energy corporations that are very anti-climate change and like anything that says that climate change does not exist. So, yeah.
All right. So for our last headline hangover, which I guess technically this hangover happened a couple weeks ago, but the 3 officers involved in Tyre Nichols' murder were convicted of excessive force and witness tampering.
Yeah. So you might remember last year, Tyre Nichols, who is a black man, was killed. He was stopped by police in Memphis, Tennessee. The end result of that encounter was him being injured by the 5 officers who were all black. Yes, he was beaten to very serious injury, and then he died 3 days later at the hospital. But
due to those injuries,
3 of
the Scorpion Unit. That's what they were called. Yeah. The Scorpion Unit.
They always name them as something. That's why the Red Dogs in Atlanta got dispersed. They always naming them some crazy stuff. They be out here doing crazy stuff.
Yeah. So there was a federal case that brought charges against all 5, I believe, of the officers that were involved in the incident. And 3 of them were convicted of charges. None of them were convicted of any type of manslaughter or some unliving of Tyre Nichols. 2 of them were convicted of witness tampering because they tried, like, in the aftermath of what happened, which was, some of it was caught on body camera footage. I think that was made available, but in the aftermath they tried to cover it up, and of course they're working together, making sure, like, everybody is
on the same page.
Yeah. So 2 of them were charged, or all 3 of them were charged with witness tampering, and then 1 of them was charged with injury by excessive force. So that was a federal case that was, when it happened, it was very much so in the news of course, another black man being unalived at the hands of police officers. In this instance, in a southern state, in Memphis, Tennessee, whose police department has a history of discrimination against black citizens, even with black officers, as we have in this case.
That doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No, because
when you're working within a system of
exactly.
it's a systemic oppression. It doesn't work.
Also, what is significant is that Memphis was one of the cities that the DOJ had entered into consent decrees with the Memphis Police Department to investigate patterns and practices of discrimination. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was consent decrees that were issued by the DOJ, and then of course Trump had instructed his Attorney General at the time, the first one, I think, of so many, I don't remember, Jeff Beauregard Sessions of Alabama. So, yeah, basically the Trump DOJ declined to
do anything
concerning those investigations.
That's true. The DOJ did decide to not do anything, but you know what I do remember from around that time they also decided to do? Which, outside of trying to get like immunity for officers and all types of other stuff,
Lord, we knew that.
Was that they actually, with the help of the Supreme Court, and reverse different titles, the Civil Rights Act, which directly affects how people are able to show up and intimidate people at polls, how states are able to go ahead and add different things onto like voting and restrictions and requirements, along with tons of other things. So let's just keep in mind, if we're upset about those things that happened then, about the fact that it's even harder to have the DOJ go into certain places and step in on behalf of residents and citizens who are not being treated as full citizens or being persecuted in these areas by the government entities in which they pay for the services. You know what I mean? Whether it's the police, whether it's, you know, being discriminated upon by getting housing or healthcare or things like that. I think that's all very important to tie together.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Jasmine. Like, that is such a good tie-in. We thought about doing something different as our highlight topic, but we thought it would be a good moment to kind of talk about Project 2025, and it's awesome that you bring that up because the DOJ and how a conservative administration will use the DOJ at their whim and to their
especially with immunity,
especially with so many things that you just highlight. That's exactly what they intend to do with a DOJ. It's like it has nothing to do with justice. It should be the DOAJ, the Department of Anti-Justice.
I mean, at this point, like, the irony is that the same thing you're saying, like, the same thing we hear in a lot of these, like, Trumpian sound bites and stuff. It's just like, oh, you know, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And I'm like, no, sir, the only person that did all of these things, like weaponized branches of government against people.
Right.
So we thought it would be a good week to talk about Project 2025. And I know it's been in the news and dominating a lot of the mainstream and social media for quite a few months now. The actual policy platform, which is the Mandate for Leadership 900-page document, which a lot of people are talking about. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with kind of the bullet points. But it bears repeating ad nauseum that this is something that should be taken very seriously.
Damn right.
And what I mean, this is not, I guess it could be a continuation of the Sip and Scroll, because I saw a video on social media and it was, I can't remember if it was a PAC or who produced a video, but there were a series of black men that were given like this big binder with 900 pages in it, and they were looking through it, and they were like,
is a lot.
you know, it's a lot, and wait a minute, this is, I don't
Actually
want that.
not good.
Turn the page. That's not gonna work for me. That's not cool for me. That's not good for my family.
Yeah.
Hold up, what?
So yeah, I thought that was a very well done video. It's very succinct and kind of got to the point very quickly about kind of the harms that Project 2025 entails. I think we look at it from the perspective of our community, like the black community, like we live in kind of a metropolitan area. We are, dare I say, middle class at this point. I don't know where we stand. It's like, okay.
In this economy.
Right, exactly. So, but we're, you know,
I mean, like, as an individual or in my couple.
Right. But I think it should be taken seriously by, you know, every American who does not stand to gain anything from wealthy white Christian nationalists taking over the government in which you believe to be a free and fair place.
Even if you believe all of that, if you do believe all of that, then I assume you believe that you should be able to vote for who you want to vote for. You should be able to say what you want to say.
No, that's a democracy. I don't think that Project 2025 encourages democracy.
It doesn't.
It's not one thing that is in the bullet
for
points.
all the people who are maybe thinking like, oh, it's not so bad or it's not a big of a deal. I'm just saying, like, my biggest thing about this was it would be different if it were any other actual election. If it were a thing between like taxes and ideals with child care and this, or even some of that, I don't see eye to eye if you're like, I don't think everybody deserves health care. Like, some of those things we can't see eye to eye on just cause.
Right.
But right now we're having a conversation of, do you like getting the chance to vote for people?
Right.
Or do you, even as a regular person with a regular job, want to be fired off your job because the president decides that you don't like him?
Yes. Project 2025 is real, so we thought it would be very poignant to discuss just what Project 2025 2025 is and what it does and what it intends to do if there was a conservative, and in this instance, in this reality, that means a Trump presidency. I think a lot of what we see now is Trump, or for the past couple of months, Trump has been trying to distance himself from Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation, which is the organization that has put out Project 2025. And yes, he did not write it. His campaign is not. First of all, let's be honest. Trump, in no way, shape, or form, could be credited with reading a 900-page document.
Write something that's
you can tell he don't read.
His campaign, or the people who currently work for him right now, I wouldn't say that they're the most policy savvy. All the people who worked in his previous administration, who have a grasp of policy to a certain extent, work for the Heritage Foundation, who put out Project 2025. So as much as he tries to distance himself from it, there's no daylight between Project 2025 and Trump. So Project 2025 is a project that envisions to take place in the year 2025.
It's about the worst group project I'd have never heard of.
Yeah, it's a project developed by...
The group project nobody told y'all to get together.
They've been in the group project game for quite a while. The Heritage Foundation conceived Project 2025, and actually... in terms of what Project 2025 is in its individual state, there's 4 pillars. There's the policy aspect, there's the personnel aspect, there is a training, and then there is a playbook, a 180-day playbook. The Heritage Foundation, which is the conservative think tank that put Project 2025 into play, has produced the Mandate for Leadership, which is the policy aspect of Project 2025, every year since 1980, since Ronald Reagan became president. Ronald Reagan, in his first term as president, implemented 60% of the Mandate for Leadership agenda, and that included a lot of the horrible things that Ronald Reagan did, like a attack against social services,
for healthcare. Yeah,
all of the things that you associate with a Reagan presidency, all of the horrible things were probably, Reaganomics were in the Mandate for Leadership in 1980. They had produced it every 4 years during a presidential election since then. So yes, when they tell you this is not something new, this is just kind of what we do, that is true to a certain extent. But if you look at previous iterations of their play or their agenda, you will notice that this one is just a tad bit more extreme and more anti-democracy, anti-checks and balances, anti-government. And not only do they have the policy aspect of it, but so in Trump's first term, he also was able to get at least, I think it's more, but at least 60% of the policy agenda from the Mandate for Leadership. The only reason why he couldn't get more, even though he wanted to just let's just do it all, because they did not have the government personnel to do so. And a lot of the people that he brought on to either run the agencies and all of the inner workings of the executive branch, they were not very well versed in the workings of a federal government. They had no fucking clue what they were doing. So that kind of stifled them in a way, and so of course he didn't get an extra 4 years to continue that. So now they're coming back with so much more planning. That's where the personnel aspect of it comes in. The Heritage Foundation was founded in 1973 by 3 white men: Edwin Fulner, Joseph Coors, Coors, the beer Coors, Family Fortune, and Paul Weyrich. Paul Weyrich is termed by conservatives who still call themselves that as the founder or the godfather of the modern conservative movement. He founded the Heritage Foundation, and he founded a lot of other organizations, including ALEC, which is the American Legislative Executive Council, which is a think tank for problematic conservative state legislation. Paul Weyrich was the architect of using abortion as the wedge issue when white evangelical Christians were so upset about desegregation after the Brown versus Board of Education decision, but they couldn't mobilize voters around desegregation because it wasn't popular anymore. So Paul Weyrich was the individual that was like, hey, let's use abortion because that's something that we can, one, get with the Catholics on, and also, two, it makes it look like we care about
AKA exploit
life. Yes.
That part.
Yeah.
So we can exploit.
But really, what we do is we don't give a shit about black people. And one thing I wanted to read, this is one of my favorite books. Anthea Butler is a scholar and religious, dare I say, critical race theory, but, you know, I don't want DeSantis to censor me.
Bad words.
But yeah, this is
Those are bad
this
words.
is a quote from her book, White Evangelical Racism.
They would ban that just on the title.
What?
Like, we don't even know.
Censoring this whole episode.
Please.
Telling you.
Racism, not abortion, explains why evangelicals came together to pursue political action. A process that came about with a push from Paul Weyrich, one of the founders in 1973 of the Heritage Foundation, along with Edwin Fulner, Joseph Coors, and other political operatives. In fact, it was the stripping of tax-exempt status from Bob Jones University following its loss of a civil rights case brought by African-American parents in Holmes County, Mississippi in May of 1969 that was the catalyst for full-throated evangelical engagement in the political realm. The IRS issued new guidelines with the upshot that schools would need to enroll a significant amount of minority students in order to qualify as tax exempt, with significant defined as 20% of the minority school-age population in the community the schools serve. The court's decision angered evangelicals, and it was Paul Weyrich, the Catholic who founded the Heritage Foundation, who wasn't even a white evangelical, who showed them how to harness their anger into political activism. And that anger was mobilized behind abortion. The exact mentality and ideology that he exuded back in 1973 is alive and well today. That is not something that is erased because he is no longer with us, but it is the foundation of this organization who has developed Project 2025. Of course, the pro-life has nothing to do with life. It has nothing to do with them giving a shit about any babies that live or do not live, because if that was the case, then why there are a lot of things that would be different.
Why would they have bombed a lot of abortion service places
they
in
would
the
care
90s?
about guns in school, and they would care about hungry children, and they would care about child care
or health care.
They would care about a lot of things. They don't give a shit about life.
Minimum
what
wage.
they do give a shit about
is
black people and minorities, black people, brown people, indigenous people, and
women.
The like. And women,
their children, and not being able to go places.
A certain extent, not the ones that are carrying, they're carrying their very white children. They care about them. They care about those individuals gaining any type of power, and quite frankly, they're scared that they have gained too much power already. So Project 2025, the mandate for leadership and the policies behind it have always been a incremental step towards making sure that those who appear as the enemy to a white Christian establishment nation do not gain any further progress. And at this point, if you look at some of the bullet points in Project 25, it's very much so aimed as making sure that we don't have any type of rights or equality within a nation in which we live. White evangelicals overwhelmingly support conservatives, and they have a recent Pew Research Center poll has Trump gaining 82% of white evangelical support, whereas black evangelicals overwhelmingly support the Democratic Kamala Harris.
Well,
I
think that's because they support
that tells you right
traditional.
There. It's not about
Christianity.
It's not about. It's not about Christianity at all.
But I'm saying, if you go purport it, then maybe you should be about the people trying to feed the children, trying to educate the people, trying to help out the least of us, or help the masses.
Jesus would do.
Exactly.
They're not interested in that.
Exactly.
So, yeah, there are a lot of things in Project 2025 that are just not things that a lot of people would like to see.
What are those things? Like, I feel like there are a lot of people who are not going to take the time to read Project 2025. So if you were to boil it down, what is Project 2025 going to do?
Okay. We could start with reproductive rights. First of all, probably institute a national abortion ban. But in the way that it would do it would be, one, to bring back a 150-year-old law called the Comstock Act, which has been getting a little bit of media attention.
Speaking a lot.
Yeah.
Especially I think
because
Alabama brought back that.
It's not, with the IVF. Yes, because
that whole rule off the book.
Yeah. So the Comstock Act is an 1800s era law that was named after this really weird guy named Anthony Comstock.
Weird guy.
Is a weird white guy who was a purist and wanted to get rid of all things that were like of the devil. And it was abortifacients, or pornography, condoms, like any type of contraception. So the law is still in place. The Comstock Act has never been repealed. It's a dormant law because it hasn't been enforced in like our the amount of time that we're able to think. But some states are trying to bring it back now, and they're like, oh, well, this law is still on the books. So basically, it prohibits the mailing of materials that would be used for an abortion or any obscene act, which would include like a Playboy magazine. Like, it was like...
The irony is, I understand that most people now are probably not buying a magazine to enjoy their pornography.
Right. But some states have even banned porn on the internet.
Oh, Texas.
Virginia has some ban on some of the websites. So Comstock, even though it's still in place and it has not
pornography.
It has not been repealed, there are iterations of it that have gone through the court system in the past. So basically, Project 2025 calls for Comstock to make sure that you're not able to mail any abortion pills,
aka Comstock
or anything,
2.0.
anything that could be used to perform an abortion. So national abortion ban right there. You don't even have to pass a law. Like, all you need is a very aggressive DOJ to go out and enforce,
or a very aggressive president to just say this is my official duty.
That was just reproductive rights.
But also restrictions on contraception. So under the Affordable Care Act, there's a mandate that insurance plans have to offer most contraception for free. It'll get rid of that. So either a complete barrier for contraception for a lot of people, or they'll find some way to ban it outright for the people who do have insurance that will still cover it.
The people who can't pay for
on top of that, and I think the most overarching thing about the repro aspect of it is that they want to rename the Department of Health and Human Services to the Department of Life, which will recognize that a life begins at conception, which is a theory of personhood, which would literally obliterate any access and freedom to have access to not just abortion, not just contraception, but IVF, but literally any person who is capable of having a menstrual cycle will be monitored by the government.
You will be put on a government
crazy.
And that's giving handmaids
That's not normal.
Yes, no, it's not. I mean, there are some aspects of Handmaid's Tale that we're living in, but that would be the gotcha. So, in terms of the economy, Project 2025 seeks to
destroy it by getting rid of all the immigrants.
Well, yes.
there's no economy when you don't have people to pick your vegetables to supply it in the store so people can eat.
The economy would be decimated if immigrants were quote unquote deported.
I'm just saying
back to
we're talking about somebody trying to round up legal immigrants.
In addition to that,
at what point does that stop?
It calls on the federal government to implement work requirements for assistance programs like SNAP, like supplemental nutrition assistance programs for low-income families. A lot of these programs enable families that are working some of those low-income jobs, making $7.25 an hour, allow them to be able to take care of their families with government assistance. In addition to that, it would increase student loan costs, even the loans that Biden is trying to
eliminate.
The Biden-Harris administration is trying to eliminate. They would bring back and probably tack on like interest that is astronomical in amount of that we probably never seen. Income tax cuts for the rich and increases for middle and lower income,
not to mention the tariffs.
Workers. Oh no, the tariffs is really weird because the tariffs is a Trump specific stupid.
Yeah,
because that's not in Project 25. They were like, oh, you got us on that one. We ain't even fucking with you.
When somebody doesn't know what tariff means and gets into it with the gentleman from Bloomberg
I love that he checked him on that peaceful transfer of power.
He checked him on the piece for it several times, and then that fool had the nerve to say, well, you must not have the same tariffs I'm talking about, or whatever it was he said that was like, oh, no, clearly you're wrong and I'm right. Or that's pretty much what he alluded to.
All of the things that
trying to fool you.
They want to implement in terms of the environment and climate are all based in climate denial pseudoscience. Any of the agencies that have been key to the responses to the hurricanes, Hurricane Milton and Helene, FEMA, gone.
And
the National Oceanic and
telling you that they NOAA.
The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration will be dismantled.
They want to
literally, instead of knowing that a hurricane is coming, it's just going to show up on your doorstep.
They said we're going to have more. They would get rid of that,
and then Trump can use a Sharpie to make it go another way.
So what I heard or what I read about it was that they want to get rid of it from NOAA, allow it to be privatized and bought by certain companies. And then those companies could then tell us.
Let me guess.
So yeah, it's just real ridiculous. We still
in terms of education, they want to eliminate the Department of Education. I think that's a very significant thing, and give the power. It's all about the states having power, and that is a relic of a pre-segregation era of American history. Returning anything to the states, whether it be abortion access, whether it be education.
Is that not the way in which the Confederacy thought?
Yes.
So I just think that they're sticking to a very Confederate thought.
Yes, and that's the era of great that they are trying to make America again. And in terms of education, they want to return all education policy and oversight to the states to determine whatever type of education system they want to have. And that's a thing that pissed them off back in the 70s because they had to start paying taxes on their segregation academies. That's the real issue. It has, again, nothing to do with abortion.
AKA why they want to have vouchers and school choice rights
school
and stuff like that. So they don't have
something
to
that is very
schools.
much, and it's not even about religious academies. It's just about private schools not teaching the history.
Well, teaching whatever they want and still getting
the history of
funded.
our nation, of being a nation that was founded on stolen land and colonized by individuals who came over from Europe or wherever and was built by slaves.
Yeah, and don't forget on Fox
they
and
don't want to
Friends,
teach that.
When they talked about that to him and asked him about the thing about the Department of Education, he said, and they use that specifically as teaching that the country was founded on the backs of slaves and other things. History. And they were. He was like, "No, I wouldn't fund them."
Yes,
like they would. Flat out, I would not.
And that's it. Calls for that in Project 2025 is not funding any states that have a contrary vision of history that is a vision of history that is contrary to whatever the hell they want people to
this week
teach.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that kind of caught me about the education thing, which I've seen a lot of talk in mainstream media and even on social media, the clips about like defunding the Department of Education and returning like schooling to grade schooling under college education back to states. What also stuck out to me was that there is a bit of it that talks about seizing the land that certain universities are on that are teaching things that are in conflict with what they believe, and they believe they should be able to get control of the boards and the funding of those universities.
How many of those do you think are HBCUs?
All of them. Most of them, exactly. And not all of them, but
exactly.
This was the part that really stuck out to me. Not only should they be able to gain control of the board, which, in case we weren't paying attention, people, take a look at Tennessee and see what they did with Tennessee State University and taking over the board's responsibilities in terms of spending their money when Tennessee has continuously not given the funding to Tennessee State University that they're due.
Yeah.
That they are due from that state and from the federal government. However, back to and it's happening to more than just Tennessee. Mm-hmm. But again, with that, the part of what they were discussing is not only should they be able to get control over other universities in other parts of the United States, they should be able to take over them. They should be able to have control over their endowment and their funding. And if they choose to, they should be able to sell off their land to private developers, because most of those lands are on prime real estate within the cities, i.e. where most HBCUs are in major cities would be considered prime real estate. So when you're seeing gentrification happen in black neighborhoods and around your HBCUs, they're literally talking about snatching up your whole HBCU and turning it into condos and renting it out. So when people at Howard were mad about the gentrifying neighbors walking their dogs on the sacred grass, they would literally be walking in your quad and living in your dorms as new $3,000 a month apartments.
Project 2025 has so many devastating
aspects, and we've only highlighted a few, and just think about how devastating all of those are.
Yes. Definitely. So
the craziness that is going on this week. A lot.
There is so much policy involved in. I implore you to read all 900 pages. No, I don't.
No.
We'll link some very
bullet points.
Even
talk about
even the bullet
voting
points.
access under Project 2025, which is kind of already underway. But
negative.
It's not necessary. See, that's the thing about Project 25. It's not explicitly listed in there, but let me in my closing I will read one of Paul Weyrich, who you will remember as one of the founders of the Heritage Foundation, who is the architect of Project 2025. Let me read one of his most infamous quotes.
Oh yes, please share it with us.
Paul Weyrich said, "I don't want everybody to vote. Elections are not won by a majority of people. They never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now. As a matter of fact, our leverage in the elections quite candidly goes up as the voting population goes down."
AKA, as their desires get less and less popular,
and that's
the only way they win is by counting people out.
And that's what you need to know about voting in terms of Project 2025. They don't want you to, basically, and they have made sure that they have a Supreme Court that has gutted the Voting Rights Act, and they are actively engaging in voter suppression as we speak right now,
as well as intimidation.
That is just another overarching.
That's just where we are.
That is where we are in terms of policy that Project 2025 would implement. They have realized that in order to implement a policy agenda, you need people in place to do that. One of the major things that is different about this iteration of a potential Trump administration is they have created a database of loyal supporters who can submit their resumes. It's kind of like a LinkedIn for like Trump bros.
For J6ers.
It's J6ers, Trump bros. Pretty much anyone who you would find on the right stuff dating app, which is like all men.
All high T bros. High T alpha bros.
All of them probably looking for a job in the next Trump administration. So there, it's like it's a LinkedIn for MAGA supporters. They have been accumulating resumes, so to speak, to instill Trump loyalists in the first 100 days or whatever. And basically also another aspect of that is a Schedule F program, but Schedule F would pretty much eliminate the protections that federal government employees, which a lot of
if you're from here, and your parents are from here, your grandparents are from here,
a lot of government employees in this area,
oh yeah, they're gonna gut that.
They're career employees. Schedule F means that the administration can fire you with no call, like just outright. That's not the case now, but if they implement it, they can just get rid of everybody who doesn't agree and implement or infuse the federal government with loyalists. There's a training series, dare I say, of a collection of videos. ProPublica released these secret videos who, like, half of the people who are in these videos served under Trump. Like, it was secret to a certain extent. But what is secret is this 180-day transition playbook, which no one has seen, and everybody's like, what's in this? So Ayanna Pressley, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, at a recent hearing on Project 2025, pressed some authors or affiliates with information about the playbook, and like they dodged every question. There is a hotline or a tip line, a whistleblower line, if you will.
Please,
anyone with information about this 180-day transition playbook.
Part of that playbook is probably for November 5th, November 6th through...
Well, you mean January 6th?
No, I meant November 6th. I also do find it absolutely hilarious that they went from, you ain't got to vote, so if you vote now, you ain't got to vote no more. So if you could please early vote, to literally like Trump telling people, all right, well, voting happens on January 5th. It's 3.5 months. So make sure you're there for January 5th to vote.
Shut up. What can we do?
Can we do something other than vote on January 5th?
No, we won't.
Yes.
How about we jump vote by November 5th?
Right. So it's a lot. Other than voting, right now, you guys, it's the final sprint. So you can get out and go canvas. Literally, there will be so many events that pop up because in this final sprint, they need all hands on deck to get out here and canvas. Not just for Kamala, but for our down ballot races as well. They're calling, they're texting. They need you to get out there, knock on a few doors for an hour, and convince somebody to go down there and save democracy. So that's what you definitely can do. Aside from that, we're going to keep emphasizing if you don't want to do that, then obviously phone bank. Also, I am a part of this progressive turnout organization's effort to get more voters in swing states out. So there are postcards that need to be mailed. And it's very fun, and it's your way that, like, for those who are more introverted or busy or whatever the case is, you can sit at home, make this a cute little night in, and
have some sips with your friends.
If we wasn't talking shit this whole time,
we could have done some postcards.
These are going to voters in Colorado.
We like to talk shit too much.
Yes.
But
so yes, get ready. We're sending things your way.
I would say that. I would also say phone banking. I know Sue,
or text banking. Some of us are introverts. We don't like to talk to people.
Text banking. There's so much, guys. Literally, just Google volunteer, and it'll come up what you can do in your area. Literally, I get alerts for like all the swing states: North Carolina, PA, Maryland is not a swing state, but there's still, because there's a Senate race here that's very key.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of outreach for volunteer opportunities for that. So literally, once you plug into one of these organizations, trust me, they're gonna be blowing your hotline, gonna be blinging.
Yeah.
They're gonna be blowing you up. So it's plenty to do. And then I also want to reiterate the toolkit for one, because again, you have 10 people in your life that you can organize and get together, make a plan, tell them about who's on the ballot, what's on the ballot, what's at stake. Everyone make a plan together, make it a party. Like, this is our time.
Carpool
this is our most powerful tool in the political process, our vote. And so we have to utilize it, and we have to encourage other people to utilize it. This is not a game. Like, and too many people fought and died for us to have this right. So I'll be damned if I squander it, and I hope no one else will.
And this might be the last chance that we get to have this.
Yeah,
this isn't a typical election.
Let's not take
We're
that
not going
for granted.
down a fight. When we fight, we win. So
Period.
let's win.
That's right.
It's the final home stretch.
In the
I ran
name
track,
of
so
all
I know what that means. When you're on a 400 and you get to that final 100 sprint, you lay it all on the track.
Right.
You lay it all. Kamala's like, I don't think she's sleeping at this point.
At
She's
this
like,
point, I can barely sleep trying to keep up with her.
espresso and Red Bull. I'm like, yes, I know.
Right.
I understand, sis. We got you. It's all or nothing.
She is out here
I just
giving
think,
us
like, at this moment, like, I can't help but think about, like, the Shirley Chisholms, the Fannie Lou Hamers. Like, I'll be damned if the women who came before us, I will spite them over whatever little issue or whatever it is. It's like, no, so many women had to work hard for us to get here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do my part
gonna
to
make me
get this
cry?
woman elected. Like, I'm sorry. Seriously.
we have to. This is part of our duty.
It is.
It's part of our duty.
It
One,
really
not
is.
This is just not as black women or women of color. It's also part of our duty as decent citizens.
That part. Exactly.
And for a person that comes from a deep military family, or on both sides, people didn't lay down their lives and go fight for things and put their lives on the line.
That's true.
To come back here, to
with
have
very
y'all
little
sell the
to show
country
for it.
over to the same people that they fought for their lives for and fought for y'all freedoms for.
Period.
So for all the people who are actual patriots, this would be your time to vote for the person who is the patriotic candidate, not the person who's trying to
That's
suck
it.
us.
Yeah. We'll see y'all next week.
Yay, yay.
After homecoming, it's gonna be a fun week.
Hold on.
Hopefully I'll be breathing.
Hold on.
Hopefully I'll be breathing clean again, whole smooth.
I mean, hopefully y'all now Jasmine gave us whatever she got. We all
This
sniffling
margarita
and
thing?
snuffling.
I know. Oh wait, I thought we were talking about the margaritas.
Take y'all some
yeah.
elderberry.
Oh, I'm making some elderberry and I'm bringing it.
See, get you
All
some.
right.
Get you some elderberry, sis.
We're going to go medicate and hydrate before.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I'm gonna go rest.
Because we cannot be down bad.
we're gonna have to be up good.
Yeah, not down bad. I'm good all day. All
Right. Seriously,
Facts.
I'm making that.
All right.
I'm making elderberry tomorrow morning.
All right, bet.
Signing off.
Sign me up for some.
Bye.
Bye.
Pull up a chair. Since the political board up. Cause we gonna need a drink for this.